Defining domain controller. Well, how can we define that? Keep it simple, of course. Let's give it a shot. It's the best we can do. Let's give it a shot. Domain controllers can be defined as, or it can be defined as, a server that allows, denies username and password combinations to access resources on the domain in question. Essentially, the domain controller in an Active Directory structure, in a Windows infrastructure structure, the domain controller basically allows or denies access to resources in the domain. So let's just say, for example, you're trying to access a file that's located on a server in the domain X. Then domain X domain controller will ask you for a username and a password. There's principally there's two types of denials. The first denial is the username, well, actually three. One, username and password doesn't exist. It's gonna say, nope. It's not gonna tell you why, but if the username and password does not exist anywhere on that domain controller's Active Directory structure, no go. Number two, the second denial is it exists, but you did not provide the right password for the username. If the password is not correct, then it's gonna say, no, can't get in. The third denial is gonna be the username and the password exist on the Active Directory structure for the domain in question, but it does not have membership, or it is not part of the group of resources or objects, as we call them, that are allowed to access that file. So the third denial is, yes, I see this username, yes, it has this password, but it has not been established that this object or this user or this account has permissions to even look at that object. And then there's further down, as you filter down, you have just view options we call read, which is basically you can view the file, but that's it. Then you have read write, which means you can view the file and you can write to the file. Then there's full control, which is you can view the file, write to the file, do whatever you want with the file. Then there's owner, which is basically you can do whatever the heck you want to do, because you, as far as it's concerned, this is your file and everybody else is partaking of your resource here. The way to think of it, of this is, think of it in terms of a bouncer at a nightclub. You have a nightclub you're going to, and there's a guy at the door, and there's a big line going out the door for people wanting to get into the nightclub. And when you get to the door, they say, well, who are you? And for this particular nightclub, it's having a special party that night, so it's by invitation only. They say, let me see your invitation. Your invitation, in a sense, is your password. If the invitation is correct and your name exists on the list, which means exists in a directory, so we get past the first one, the account exists. Number two, you have the right invitation, so you have the right password. And number three, on the list, it says this person is a VIP, let's say. When you hand them that and they verify everything, they say, you go down this all the way down the far hallway on your right. Because that's the way the VIPs go, because they have access to resources deemed only for VIPs. Versus someone who comes in who just has, let's say they have general access to the floor, they have their name on the list and they have the right invitation, and they say, okay, you go down the hallway on the left here, because that's where general access is. Versus someone who comes in who has their name on the list but forgot their invitation, can't get in, no password. Think of it that way.